Huh? Hey, I'm tryna win. I'm tryna win in the 716 and I'm making it big. I wanna live. I think I'm ready to.
Yo, what's good, man? This is Easy Pinch Out Podcast with your one and only host, Glory Boy, here with our next special guest in the building. Yes, sir. You like that?
I'm not used to that applause. I'd like more of that. More.
You like that?
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you here because we kind of met just out of the blue.
Yeah.
That's why I like to tell people on my show, like, hey, you just have to build connections with people, build great relationships. And how this happened is that actually Dr. Irwin, who was my professor at Canisius University,
Right.
she had the book signing, Barnes and Nobles, there at McKinley Mall, and we just met there. And you was part of actually the Reading Rainbow. Your picture is inside the book.
Correct.
And man, that's amazing.
Page 160.
Wow. How did you feel though? Like let me just ask you that before we get into a lot of different things.
About Reading Rainbow?
Yes.
It was a nice experience. I was about 8 years old when open auditions came out at Channel 17. I think my tutor at the time, June Severance, let my mom know about this. I think Tony Bettino's mom was also the school nurse at Allendale Elementary. So I think my mom got word from there too. And went down to Channel 17. I was down, and this is where Jericho Park is now on Barton Street.
Right.
I went down to the studio and auditioned, and I must have made some sort of good impression. And next thing you know, I get a letter saying, congratulations, come on down for a dry run and studio tour. And a few weeks later, I was taping a book review, and then something happened, and I got called, and for whatever reason, they wanted me to do a second one, and that's the one that everyone seems to see because that was the first book review aired when the series debuted.
Wow. And when I saw you, I'm like, man, this was him? Dr. Irwin was like, yes, Glory, this was him. I'm like, wow. It's crazy how just the world works. It's like you can meet people just out of the blue and just find out some amazing things about them just like that. You never know. And thankfully, we got to connect there. And I appreciate you being here. But, guys, before we even start this, you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, what you do, and then we can start our conversation.
All right. Well, for those who may not know who I am Tom Puckett. I am currently a news anchor at WBEN in Buffalo. I've been there. It'll be 25 years in April. As you can see, I graduated from Gannon University in Erie and am a lifelong resident of Western New York.
Wow. So, let me actually jump straight into just you being in Buffalo, because we kind of had that conversation before we even started this.
Right.
I'm like, man, Buffalo weather is just pick one side, it's just all over the place. And you said that you've been in Buffalo for a very long time.
Yes.
Let's talk about your experience just being in Buffalo. How has it been for you throughout childhood and also just growing up?
Where do you want to start? The weather?
Let's start. Let's start at the childhood, and then the weather will follow up. Yes.
All right. Well, my childhood was your basic Western New York childhood. My dad would take me to the Sabres games during the season. We'd go outside and play in the snow. In summertime, we'd play baseball in the yards, and it was just your basic childhood.
You ever get sick of the weather?
Do I ever get sick of the weather? When I have to drive in it.
Oh, when you have
in
to drive
the
in
winter. I do not have that luxury of working remotely. I do not have that luxury of a snow day. In radio news especially, there is no such thing as a snow day.
Really?
No.
So you guys are more like essential workers too.
We are essential workers, yes. And during the pandemic, they had a letter ready for us to present in case there was a driving ban. It never got to that point, thank goodness. But we are essential. And those winter driving bans put our station placard on our windshield. Usually that's a free pass, but in the opinion of some officers, not so much. But that's neither here nor there.
No, that is insane though. I mean, let's talk about remember when the one snow that was it last year or 2 years
The Christmas
ago?
blizzard?
Yeah, the Christmas blizzard. Did you guys still go to work?
Well, some of us couldn't get out. Some of those who had remote broadcasting stayed home because there was no way they could get out.
Right.
The Friday of the storm, which was the 23rd, I was slated to start at 11 o'clock, but I decided to get there early, beat the storm, and I think I did by about 2 minutes because that storm system came into Amherst like that. And I had spent time packing clothes, getting some snacks, and pretty much what we did at that point was hunker down for 3 days.
Speaking of packing, did they have like a bed and stuff like that for you guys at the station?
No, not this time around. I think the next time, heaven forbid, we have another one of those storms. I think cots will be available for us, but we didn't. None of us expected to be there for Friday morning through Monday evening.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. How like was, and also because a lot of things did happen. Was it like one of the most eventful thing to report? Because people were loitering their stores. People couldn't move. The police couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
Ambulances were stuck. Was it like what were the most important things that you guys highlighted throughout like your shows?
Well, I think first off, the weather conditions and telling people to stay inside was the first thing. I'm sure you heard the story of Mr. Merry Christmas broke a window into the school, got out the food, and fed people, got them into that building during that storm just to get them to survive that storm.
Did that person get in trouble?
I think any charges or damages, I think he was willing to pay for any damages, whatever, food, whatever. I don't think he was charged. He's been hailed as a hero for that.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it because there was a lot of homeless people that actually were very much stuck. I think on Kensington Avenue, there was this one homeless man that they found laying down on the ground, which was so sick. And then, man, so yeah, shout out to him. He's a hero.
Yeah,
he's a hero. But now let's talk about your career path, because I know you went to Ghana University. Have you ever thought of like throughout like your career path and going to school? You ever thought about being in this position that you're in right now, being a news anchor for about 25 years?
25 years at WBEN. I wanted to first off be a sportscaster, be the play-by-play voice of the Buffalo Sabres, the job Dan Dunleavy is doing very well right now. I wanted to do that since I was 5. So everything I wanted to do in junior high, high school, to get to that point. However, as you know, in the NHL, there are 32 play-by-play jobs. In minor league hockey, same thing. It was tougher to get in there. At the same time, our college radio station, they were doing radio newscasts, and I was doing radio news, and I ended up with this little unexpected detour where now I am doing radio news, and I started my first job in radio news was in Erie my senior year at Gannon. I ended up working there for a year and a half, ended up going full-time, and what had happened was one of my coworkers at that station went ill, went on temporary disability, which meant he left the station, and I was offered the chance to go there, and I spent a lot of 6-day work weeks at that station. It was, supposed to be 11 in the morning till 7 at night, but I'd be called in for morning fires. I'd have to stay late for government meetings, and it was a very tiring 6-day work week. And the feeling I felt when I had to go in on a Sunday, my one day off to do something.
Man, I hate working on Sunday.
Oh,
the job that I'm working right now, I'm actually working on a Sunday, and I'm like, man, like I need that. I feel like Sunday is when like if you go to church, if you do other things, I feel like Sunday is that one day that you can't really do too much. You just need to rest your mind and kind of like reboot for Monday.
Yeah. Well, if I were working Sundays, let's say I got 2 days off during the week, that would be like my Saturday, Sunday. That's one thing. But to have to work 6-7 days in a row, that's no.
Very
I
tiring.
wouldn't do that now.
Very tiring. And also like, because I know when you're in school, you get to do a lot of different things in terms of like internships. How did you kind of like go about that to earn those internships?
Well, pretty simply, all I did was send a letter, make a phone call, and I actually went to a regional sports channel out of Buffalo, Empire Sports Network, and wanted to do internships. They didn't. What I was hoping to do was learn how to be a sportscaster, but the Empire lineup at the time was just a lot of already pre-taped shows and other things that are sports related, but they weren't live. Like your 6 o'clock sportscast. I ended up being a production intern the first year. I did public relations internship my second summer, and it was small enough that all I had to do was make a phone call, go in for an interview, and go from there. I know for the regular TV stations, there's a significant internship application process, and never thought about going there because a summer internship, it's got to be for college credit. So I wasn't sure how to arrange that. Looking back, it probably would have been a better idea after I had interned my freshman and sophomore years, my junior year. Probably should have used one of my contacts to say, hey, how do I go about applying for a summer internship at the station, and go from there. I think that could have helped me toward the sportscasting, but at the same time, nearly 30 years later, here I am, established, entrenched in broadcast radio.
And was it like competitive when you throughout your time at Gannon? Was it competitive getting into the internship?
No, in my case, no.
Okay.
There was no worries about making applications process. All I had to do was call Empire, and that was it. Yeah. I got in. So
I mean that makes everything even easier for
you.
A
lot easier. Yeah, I'll tell you something. Our radio stations that need interns, we'd love to have interns, and all they got to do is call the station and say, hey, I want to be an intern, and we'll point them in the right direction.
Right, that's amazing. I mean, there's a lot of different opportunities, and like you mentioned, you just have to make that move.
Right.
You have to make that call, find someone that can at least point you in the right direction.
Exactly.
And that's what you need to do. So now also when you was in college, I know you mentioned that you wanted to be in play-by-play in sports and so on, but then you ended up just being in this position where you news anchor, talking about a lot of different things. But was there anything else that you ever wanted to become rather than just doing news reporting and so on?
Well, there's a Walter Mitty in me that wants to be a game show host.
Okay.
That's it's in the back of my mind. Sometimes I think, hey, I could do this. But you watch the guys on TV. I talked with one and watched him at work, and it's like, okay, maybe I need to take a step back from aspiring to wannabe. And I think maybe that reason is not just watching people in person do that work, but it's about getting the reps. And just like a job in broadcast news, job as a TV game show host, it's even tougher nowadays, especially when you've already got to be established to even get considered. That's what makes it tough.
I know. I mean, since you mentioned that, let me say you were to apply to a certain job and you don't get accepted. Right. How do you kind of handle just not being accepted for that specific position? How do you handle that?
I have not had to worry about that in some 25 years. However, when I have applied in the past, get that rejection letter, one reason or another, or I've had the interview, had the offer, and it turned out not to be the right job for me at that time. It's a case of, it is what it is. And you have to, right. Yeah, I know, it's a terrible cliche for the 21st century, but it is what it is. It usually is a sign that you're not a good fit for that station. That station is probably not going to be a good fit for you. It's meant to be that you get turned down, and you just move on. I mean, if there's, it hurts when it's a job you pushed for and you go for and you interview and they say, thanks for coming in, but we've decided to go with someone else. And the fear when you wanted that job so badly is that you end up seeing or hearing the person and it's just someone you think is less qualified or just doesn't have that ability or experience that you think you had.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I like how you mentioned is, I mean, in 21st century, because a lot of people. The reason why I asked that is because there's so many people that just can't handle rejection. Like they apply for a specific job and they don't get accepted, and then all of a sudden it just makes them lose faith in their pursued career. Like they don't even want to do it no more because of that one rejection. That's why I asked that question, and it's a lot of kids that need to learn that.
Yeah, absolutely. Perseverance. You have to just trudge through. And what also helps is not putting your eggs in one basket. Yeah, that might be the one job you really, really want the most. But send your tapes and resumes to other places, other stations and broadcasting, other, in industries, different firms, different companies. Get that feel out because, like I said, you may not get that dream job right now, but somebody else may be looking for you. It may not be where you want it, but that gives you the chance to learn, get the experience, get those reps, if you will, to do what you want to do to get to that post. Maybe they give you that dream job, that company. So I know it hurts. I know getting rejected hurts, and you think, and you do want to give up.
It's part of life.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people, a lot of youngsters, are being told you can do anything, you can be fantastic, and I think it's harder for people to understand rejection and just to move on. I think a lot of us didn't. My generation, we learned how to deal with rejection, I think, a lot better now. I know a lot of kids today, they do cry, and they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to cry. They're allowed to be upset. We weren't allowed to do that so much in my generation in the 70s and 80s. Yeah.
So when you did that, what was the reaction from the people that was either sitting in front of you, from your parents, friends, and even the jobs that you were applying to? What were their reaction towards you crying because you've been rejected?
I've never cried as a result of rejection, personally. That's just, even when I was 18, 19, that's not where I cried about getting rejected. When I was denied candy at 3 or 4, that's when I cry. But no. I think when it comes to the industry, even though I was 18, 19, trying out, you see it enough that you know that sometimes it's just not going to work. I turned down a job about 25 years ago. I turned down a job offer because they wanted me to come in and work 7 days a week. They were going to give me the money I wanted, but they wanted me to work more. And when I did the math, you may as well stay where you are at that point. And just, you have to make those decisions too. You have to remember that sometimes they reject you, but if it doesn't feel right to you, you can reject them right back.
You played that mic.
Well, it's not.
I like
not meant to be a mind game.
No, I like that though.
Yeah, you have the right to reject them right back if they don't like. If it's an offer they don't like, they give you an offer you don't like, you can ask for more. And if they don't want to give you more, you have the right to reject them right back.
I feel like I like how you mentioned that, because that's when you know your true worth. Like you know what you're worth, your time, your everything is very valuable and something that you can't really buy back. So like the more time you put into that job, the more energy you put into that job. If it's not giving you exactly what you want, why wait when it's too late to reject that job?
And something you just brought up, time.
Right.
Money comes and goes. I was thinking about this on the drive in. Money comes and goes. You can make a lot of money, but you can spend a lot of money. You can lose a lot of money. Time, you can neither gain or get back. The time is what you've got to put into it. So, yes, do you put that time in studying, time practicing your craft at home? I used to do that a lot. Put a hockey video game on and do play-by-play. People think I was crazy for doing that, but it was practice. It was a rep. Putting in those reps. Have I gotten to that point yet? No. Will I probably get to that point? I don't think that's going to happen at my stage in life, but that's okay. But you have to practice. You have to just practice reading that script into a tape recorder. Practice reading that script onto, something like this here. Right. Just just practice. And I know if you're going to be a lawyer or something, maybe it's not as easy to do, but, practice and practice writing briefs. I don't know how that would apply, but still just practice, whatever job you're going to do, just try to find a way to get reps in, even if it's just for yourself.
Right.
Practice.
I mean, practice makes it perfect.
That's right. I was about to say that.
And I like how you mentioned, it's interesting, like just playing video games and you're doing play-by-play. I've never actually seen anybody do it, and me, myself, if I was to, let me say you're doing that, let me say we're going to the same school and you're doing that in your dorm or in the common room, I would just be like, what is this guy doing? But like you said, you did not care what people thought. As long as you knew what you were doing, your mission, and practice.
Exactly. And, you talk about kids in your dorm. I'm seeing so much online on social media that my colleagues my age are now teaching these guys at Canisius and all these other schools. And Canisius has an ESPN Plus feed for all their games. And on the crew, students. I think, on-air talent, I don't know if students are on-air talent, but depending on the sport, there are opportunities, I would imagine, at Canisius, but there's an opportunity right there that I didn't have 30, 35 years ago when I was in school to actually be part of a game that gets streamed or broadcast on cable. I'm jealous of these kids.
I know it's a lot of improvement in terms of school. Canisius, they have the EA Sport. So, and it's also a D1 video game team.
That's right.
They go compete with other schools and it's being streamed and they win awards from it. They can win scholarships from it. And it's things have really improved. And sometimes I look at it and then when I hear from people like you, my parents, and they tell me, man, we did not have these things. And when I see some people that really do not take advantage of that opportunity, I'm like, man, come on, what are you doing? All these things, some people never really had it.
Yeah, even if you try out and you, as we said before, you get rejected.
You get rejected, right.
I did a college sports highlight show, 30-minute show. I worked on the crew, on the studio crew. 1 week, a couple weeks later, I got to co-host the show, did that for a few weeks, and I got replaced. At least I got in there. So, like I said before, you may not get what you want right away, but maybe you work behind the scenes a little bit, learn what it's like to do it. You get the call up to do it, and you do the best you can, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But even if it doesn't work out, if you're up there, you've got something to show a potential employer. You've got something for the real, as I call it.
Right. Let's talk about revolution of news reporting. When you first started doing it, and then coming up until today, what are a few things that have changed in terms of news reporting and what kind of information that you have to get out to the public?
One word: internet.
Okay.
When I started, we made check calls on the telephone. We called different firefighters. We did calls to police agencies, sheriff's offices to see if anything had happened in the last 4 or 5 hours. You don't have to do that anymore. We have scanners, but they're digital scanners, and sometimes some stations don't have the digital scanners that can pick up the two-way feeds. Right now, something could happen across the street at the D district headquarters for Buffalo Police, but we wouldn't know anything about it because we don't have the scanners. But what they have done is now with the internet, they email us information on press releases. In the last 15 years, social media, same thing. So sometimes we can pick up on that. But sometimes we still get that tip call from a listener that, hey, this is going on, and it's worth something to cover. And also, the pad and paper, we've been replaced by, pad and paper is still there, but pad and paper have been supplemented. I don't want to say replaced, supplemented by the web page.
Okay. And what is the competition like? How fast is it for you guys to receive the information? And then you have to report it. How long does it take for you to receive that email or that message from whatever station that something just happened?
That depends. When it comes to emails from police agencies, it depends on when we get them and when we see them, because newsroom emails they're flooded with interview pitches, the things you don't need. But we know who to look for and check in. And sometimes we'll scan something on social media. We'll check X, we'll check Facebook out, and we can just search different channels. Okay, there's something happening. And other times, it's after the fact, but it's not that necessarily big breaking news. We've got to break in live.
Right.
But we can post a story up on the web. We can put that on social media in a matter of seconds.
Okay.
But not every story that we get merits that breaking news, got to break into programming, go live, that sort of deal. It's very rare nowadays that happens.
No, but like I always wanted to ask because I know when it comes to like the news anchors, they want to always be the first ones to get that information out. And what do you like? Why is it like that? And also, what do you guys gain from that when the information is out?
Being first on a big story, that can give you a good reputation. That can get you the reputation that, okay, this is the guy to listen to. This is the guy to watch. This is the guy to read. That's what you want to do that. You want to have that. Being first means you've beaten the pack to the other story. You've beaten everyone else to that story. You've got it up on the air first. They're playing catch up. Any news director wants a reporter or an anchor who can make the competition play catch up. But here's something I've learned in 40 years. One day, you break the story. The next day, another station will break a story on something else. It's cyclical about who catches up to who. So you just have to, these days, especially with social media, you just got to be lucky as well as good. You can have your sources. You can have everything in place. But if your source won't tell you anything, won't confirm anything, or tells you not to go with it right away, you are at the mercy of those sources. But once something breaks, and something, let's say, heaven forbid, this is just an example, let's say City Hall, there's an explosion at City Hall. Everybody's going to know about it right then and there, and it's just about being accurate with your coverage. And sometimes accuracy trumps speed.
Okay.
So it's not just being first with a story, it's the first to have the story right. And I would rather be second with the story on the air and know that my story is accurate as opposed to being first and having a fact or two, as pertinent fact, turn out to be wrong. Because if you're first and wrong, you may as well be lagging behind.
It's crazy how you just read my mind, because I was actually going to ask you that, because what if you drop your story first and then everything is wrong, but how would you kind of like spin it back? Like how do you handle misinformation that you put out to the public? How would you kind of like find a way to, say sorry to them?
The hardest thing to do is admit you're wrong. Anytime. Whether it's
so you don't
anything in the world, anytime, I was wrong.
Right.
That's the last thing anybody wants to say.
They don't want to say that.
But no, I don't want to say I'm wrong. But sometimes, I did it wrong, and I misidentified an organization, and what happens is they catch before air and they don't air it. Sometimes, it's you mispronounce something. Okay, you just pronounce it better the next time and move correctly and move on. Pertinent mistakes, the next chance you get, you correct yourself and say, we apologize for the error. That's all you can really do, because in radio, it's live, it's out there. 6 o'clock news on TV, you make a mistake like that, it's live. And a mistake like that, you just have to correct yourself as soon as you can, apologize for the inconvenience or anything like that. Those are mistakes, and the little mistakes, little tripping on the words,
right,
a mispronunciation here and there. Maybe you're ad-libbing something. Hey, maybe you're trying to override the sound of a fire truck siren. Right. But the minor mistakes, you just correct and move on. And sometimes, half the time, the audience doesn't realize it. mistakes of magnitude, mistakes of significance, that's when you have to go in and say, I'm sorry, we have to correct the story, we apologize for the inconvenience, and then hopefully they let you move on.
And you know what you just mentioned, that sometimes the audience do not recognize it.
That's right.
Because a lot of people today can just go by either fake news. It's so easy for them to just believe anything that's on the media, because a lot of people don't have that time to always do fact check and do stuff like that. But like so let me say, you made a mistake. You made a mistake, and also you've already apologized to your audience and so on. So like, how do you make it up the next time that mistake? I mean, in terms of like reporting the news and so on. Like, do you then try to go second, or do you still want to push for first?
You always push for first.
Okay.
You always push for first, and once you have made the correction and you've apologized, the next time up, I have a new opportunity every 30 minutes to make it up and make it right. And once I've got it right, just move on. You don't have to say, we apologize, there was an error 2 hours earlier, because your audience changes every half hour. And sometimes a listener or a viewer didn't catch the mistake you made in your last newscast.
Oh, yeah.
So don't bring it up. Don't bring up mistakes. That's rule number one in broadcasting. Don't draw attention to a mistake that you made on the air. Correct it, move on, and hope nobody catches you, nobody calls and complains or calls you out on social media. You just try to move on. And like I said, the next newscast, it's a fresh, brand new ball game.
Right. And also, let me say, how many listeners do you guys have each morning, or like in a single day itself?
We have several 100,000 listeners.
Really? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing.
Now you think that's amazing, but keep in mind that the Buffalo metro area has about 1.2 million people, I think, at last count. You may think 300,000 people in Buffalo, Niagara Falls, but you also have to remember we have the rural counties. You have the southern tier, Jamestown, Olean, Allegheny County, Wyoming County, Genesee County, Orleans County. Our signal goes to all those counties. So, yes, the 300,000 viewers, 300,000 listeners to WBEN sounds amazing, but that's scattered across 8 counties, and that does not include your listeners who can catch us in Pennsylvania, the Rochester area, maybe Southern Ontario that doesn't get counted in the ratings. And not to mention, going back to the internet, anybody, anywhere in the world can go to WBEN.com and they can listen to us live on the air as the news goes on the air. So we could have potentially millions of people listening.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing, and plus that's in almost every single day. Every single day you go to work, that there's all those people that rely on you as a source, for whatever news they're looking for, and so on. Because I was speaking about mistakes and all that, what are the consequences, in terms of just inside the department? Let me say you made a mistake as a news anchor. What do you kind of face in terms of consequences? So that way you can understand to not do it again, and how do they come to you and speak to you?
Well, when you make a mispronunciation, they'll just correct the pronunciation and they'll tell you, hey, this is the right way to say it. There's very rarely are there significant consequences for mistakes. Significant consequences come from significant mistakes.
Right.
There are little to no consequences for the trip up of words, a mispronunciation here and there. That's just, that falls under constructive criticism. Here's the right way to pronounce it, and we move on.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, everybody make mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody make mistakes, and I like that. I feel like that's true leadership. You make a mistake, easy to correct, and then we'll move on. But so thank you so much. So I like to always finish up with having my guests, just give words of motivation to the young youth. To the young kids that's growing up, that's trying to pursue the same thing that you pursued as 5-year-old, and just dreamed about it, and now you're in that position where you're doing news reporting and so many other great things. So what would you say to them for them to stay consistent, to have that resilience to never give up on their dreams going forward.
Well, you just said it. Never give up. Never give up. For some people, it just takes a little more time.
Right.
You just have to keep trying. You have to keep plugging away, and sometimes you have to find a back run to the avenue that you want to be in. It's just, you just said it. You never give up. You have to stay resilient. You will get rejected. You will be told, well, we don't have enough experience to be considered. You're going to get that when you're 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 25, depending on what the job you want. So if you don't get that job you want, maybe there's like a second tier or third tier job that maybe you're thinking, oh, I don't want to take that. I don't want to go into that. That's not what I want to do. But think about it. That third tier job in the industry you're in, listen carefully, watch carefully. You will learn from the third tier how to get to the second tier, what you need to learn from at the second tier to get to that top tier job that you want. Sometimes it's just a matter of getting that experience, and sometimes that means you have to start at the bottom, and sometimes, in order to be able to swallow food, you have to swallow pride, which means don't be too proud to take a job that's not what you want, because it will give you the salary, the wage, enough to get you fed.
Amen. That's it. I mean, couldn't have said any better, because, man, it's a lot of people that don't see it like that. It's a long journey.
Oh, yeah.
Your time will come. It's like, I like to look at some people like KFC CEO, the person that founded actually KFC. I think he was like 56 or
Right.
something. He just continued to push and push, and then by 56, he ended up just having one of the biggest companies
Exactly.
in the world, restaurant. So, yeah, thank you so much. I really
Thank
appreciate you
you.
for being here, Tom. But, yeah, guys, this is Easy Sip and Chop Podcast, man. Y'all go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video. And do you have any, like, Instagram or something they can look
Well, you can go to X, Tom Puckett, WBEN. That's Puckett.
Okay.
WBEN. I'm not really much of an Instagram person, but I'm mainly on X for social media.
Awesome. Thank you so much once again. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we out of here. Let's go.